The Toy Story franchise is full of all kinds of lovable characters. From stoic space rangers to slinky dogs, the series has plenty of toys that any kid could fall in love with. There are definitely exceptions to that rule, however. They may not be as common as their more heroic companions, but Toy Story absolutely has its fair share of villains, ranging from manic toy collectors to galactic emperors bent on conquering the universe. What's also interesting about the villains in this series is that they tend to subvert your expectations. In most animated movies, the villains have very clear design choices that make you immediately recognize them as antagonists. In Toy Story, however, characters you thought were evil turn out to be nice, and those who are nice may be hiding more villainous motives. With such a varied assortment of villains across multiple movies and TV specials, we have to ask, which of these foes are little more than an inconvenience, and which are Toy's worst nightmare come to life? I'm Caleb with Wicked Binge, and this is Toy Story Villains Evil to Most Evil. For this list, we'll begin by looking at the least evil villains and then work our way down to the truly despicable. With that settled, let us begin. In our least evil spot is none other than Mutant Toys from the original Toy Story. Built by Sid through mixing and matching the pieces of various toys, these characters mostly hide in the shadows of his house and don't have any dialogue in the entire movie. They come in some truly startling shapes and sizes. For example, one is a baby head attached to a spider body, and another is a hand that springs from a box. With all that in mind, you would probably think that these guys are pretty bad. However, the Mutant Toys are living proof of the saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," a theme that repeats throughout the film series and this very list. Though Woody and Buzz are frightened by these characters when they first meet, the group soon shows the two that they are nothing to be frightened by. After Buzz has his arm removed, the Mutant Toys reattach it. In the film's final act, they help the duo escape the house and scare Sid away from destroying toys ever again. Since the main characters believe them to be villains for much of the movie, we have to put them on this list, but their helpful and kind attitude make them an easy choice for this spot. They may not be the only characters here to have a soft side, but unlike those other characters, they are all soft. With no evil deeds to their names, how could we not place them here? Our next choice is Gabby. The main antagonist of Toy Story 4 began life as a pull-string doll from the 1950s. Her story is a tragic one, as she has spent some 60 years languishing in an antique shop, hoping the day will come when she finally gets an owner. When we meet her in the movie, she is trying to become the toy of a girl named Harmony, the granddaughter of the shop's owner.
My Harmony is perfect.
Unfortunately, she is missing her voice box, but there just so happens to be one toy who still has his. This puts her into direct conflict with Woody, who she is obsessed with getting the voice box of. Though she is technically the villain of the movie, she doesn't do anything particularly horrible. She does kidnap Forky in an attempt to learn more about Woody, but once the latter comes back to give up his voice box, she lets Forky free. Unlike most other villains in the series, Gabby has a very polite and soft-spoken demeanor. When she first meets Woody, she offers him a ride in her carriage and even wants to help him find Bo Peep. At the end of the film, though she is rejected by Harmony, she doesn't let that keep her down for long. She ultimately finds a kid at the carnival and thanks Woody for all of his help. It's so easy to see a version of this character that becomes a straightforward villain after facing rejection, but Gabby remains a good person through the end of the film and is rewarded for doing so. The only really evil deed she accomplishes is kidnapping Forky, but even that wasn't done out of malice. Gabby is a good person overall and a fitting character for this second spot on our list. Now this may come as a surprise to many, but we're actually going to rank Sid in this relatively low placement. The main villain of the original Toy Story, Sid is presented as an evil foil to Andy. While Andy cherishes his toys and takes good care of them, Sid sees them as fodder for his destructive tendencies. Whether it's blowing up a combat Carl or creating those frightening mutant toys, to say Sid had a twisted mind would be putting it mildly. Even his sister Hannah's toys are not safe from his devious experiments. With all the toys he's destroyed, he also easily has the largest body count for any villain in the franchise. If you're a toy and within Sid's vicinity, it's only a matter of time before he does something horrible to you. But here's the thing. As far as Sid knows, these are just toys. They aren't sentient, they don't have feelings, and sure, his imagination might be a little demented, but have you ever met a little boy? We're all kind of deranged at that age. While Sid is one of the most dangerous villains in the series, he can't really be described as sadistic because it's all pretend, and he doesn't realize he's hurting anyone. And at the end of the day, he does learn his lesson. After being scared straight by Woody and the Mutant Toys, Sid runs away in horror, and it's unlikely that he ever treated a toy like he did before.
So play nice.
And judging by his Toy Story 3 cameo, he also seems pretty well adjusted for being the only human in the series to know that toys live. Sid might be one of the scariest beings a toy could ever meet, but worst case scenario, he's just a bit of a troubled child. Up next is the evil Emperor himself, Zerg. Emperor Zerg is the greatest enemy that Buzz Lightyear has ever faced, and the creator of a weapon that has the ability to destroy entire planets. Or at least that's the case for the fictional Zerg. For the toy that appears in Toy Story 2, it's a much different story. Just like Buzz in the first movie, this toy version of Zerg believes himself to be the real deal. Unfortunately for him, he's not nearly as evil as his fictional counterpart. Zerg wants one thing and one thing only: to destroy Buzz Lightyear. While he does oppose the heroes in the movie, his plastic projectiles aren't nearly enough to pose a threat to them. Not only that, but he actually makes amends with Buzz in the end of the movie too. Zerg is certainly more evil than previous characters, what with being an evil emperor and all, but his harmless nature makes it hard to place him any lower on the list. Besides, would a truly evil villain ever play catch with his son? In our next slot is the Bensons. These ventriloquist dummies serve Gabby and obey her every command. When Woody and Forky try to escape the shop, the dummies are quick to chase them. When Forky is captured, it is they who guard him. While Gabby may be the one who leads them, we feel her motives were a lot more understandable. The Bensons, on the other hand, don't have a concrete motivation. They only want to serve Gabby and nothing else. We feel this makes them more evil than her, since she at least had a sympathetic reason for doing the things she did. Apart from that, we also place them here because of their ridiculously creepy appearance. While Sid's toys may have been creepy, they still had a warm side to them that shined through every scene. These dummies are just scary, plain and simple. With both of these points in mind, we have to give these guys this spot on the list. If you ever wander into the Second Chance Antiques, do yourself a favor and avoid the Bensons. Emerging from his dream house, our next character is Ken. One of the many toys that inhabit Sunnyside Daycare, Ken is second in command to Lotso. As a henchman to the film's main villain, it should come as no surprise that Ken has done some evil deeds. When Buzz spies on the group, Ken and the toys capture Buzz, proceeding to reset him. With Buzz now under control of Lotso's gang, Ken has to capture all of the other toys. Let's not forget that it is Lotso who he serves. You have got to make quite the impression to get on his good side. While Ken is the most competent villain so far, there's a lot to him that keeps him from descending lower. Ken is not exactly taken seriously by the other toys. Even those in Lotso's gang make fun of him for being a girl's toy, a fact he is very self-conscious about.
Mr. Softy over here.
The other reason, and the more important one, is that he does reform in the film's final act. He ends up seeing Lotso for the villain he is, and he helps Woody and friends escape from the daycare. After the film, he begins to make Sunnyside Daycare a better place for all toys, with some help from his lover, Barbie. Though he's the smartest villain so far, his eventual atonement makes us unable to put him any lower. Plus, how evil can a Ken doll really be? Our next character comes from not one of the movies, but a TV special. From the Toy Story of Terror Halloween special comes Ronald Tompkins. The manager of the Sleepwell Motel, Ron is a thief first and foremost. He takes toys from the children in the motel and proceeds to sell them on eBay, a legally distinct version of eBay. In the TV special, he does just this to Woody and friends. He is particularly thrilled to see Woody and Jessie go for extravagant prices on auction. However, they manage to escape his grasp, but not before exposing Ronald's thievery to their owner, Bonnie. This prompts the police to come after him, making him the only Toy Story villain to ever be arrested. That is, of course, assuming they found him after he attempted to escape, which also makes him the only villain to run from the cops. While that and his penchant for stealing from children are despicable, we have to place him here because there are much more evil characters than him to come. One in particular is almost the exact same as him. Speaking of which, move over, Ron. Hailing from Al's Toy Barn is none other than Al McWiggett. Al is as greedy as they come. His goal in the second film is to complete his set of toys based on the Woody's Roundup TV show, which will then be displayed in a toy museum in exchange for a large payment. When he finds Woody at a yard sale, he quickly makes a move to buy him. While Andy's mom says he isn't for sale, that doesn't deter Al. He soon steals him, showing that he is every bit the thief that Ron from before was. Speaking of Ron, while these two characters are indeed similar, we ultimately feel Al is the more evil of the two. Don't forget that his plan came a lot closer to fruition than Ron's did. Al got Woody and the others all the way to the airport before they escaped. Al may be the worst type of collector for a toy to encounter, but he doesn't have much else going for him. He's a pretty lazy villain and cannot be bothered to even sleep in his own bedroom. He's greedy and a thief, but there really isn't much else to him besides that. With that in mind, we can't quite justify putting him any lower on our list. Don't worry, Al, it could always be worse. You could have to drive all the way to work on a Saturday. In our next slot is the Cleric from the Toy Story That Time Forgot TV special. This dinosaur-themed foe leads the Battlesaurus warrior dinosaurs that fight in gladiator-like arenas. The Cleric often pits his Battlesaurs against other toys, the latter of which don't usually come out in one piece. As a leader, the Cleric is quite corrupt.
I find their lack of armor disturbing.
He is the only one of the Battlesaurs who knows they are toys, and he wants it to stay that way. Whenever another toy may ruin this facade, he is quick to get rid of them. The Cleric is also very opportunistic. When his owner Mason began to focus more on his new Optimum Axe than his toys, he used that as a way to rule over the toys without any possible jurisdiction. He's a toy who loves power, and he'll make sure nobody stops him from losing it. Though he's corrupt and violent, he does appear to change his ways after Mason gets back into his toys. Still, you definitely don't want to get in this guy's arena. Getting the silver medal of evil is the old prospector himself, Stinky Pete. While he's based upon one of the characters from the Woody's Roundup TV show, this toy has little in common with that character. Whereas the TV series Stinky Pete was comical and friendly, the Stinky Pete we see in the film is bitter and hateful. Stinky Pete lived his life in a dime store, watching every other toy be sold but him. This has caused him to resent children. Besides kids, he also hates any toy that's space-related, as he blames their popularity for the show's cancellation. While he appears nice at first, the climax of the movie reveals that he wants nothing more than to keep Woody where he is, so the Woody's Roundup gang will be complete. He turns on Al's TV to wake him up when Woody first tries to escape, with Jessie taking the blame. He also prevents Buzz and friends from rescuing him when they attempt to come back.
It's too late, Woody!
In the film's climactic airport scene, Stinky Pete very nearly tears Woody apart until his friends come to the rescue. Though other villains on this list are redeemable or are harmless, Stinky Pete is a truly villainous character. It's a good thing that this toy is worth more in the box, because that's where he should probably stay. For our gold medal of evil recipient, Lotso. The head of the Sunnyside Daycare, Lotso appears at first to be a genuinely friendly plush bear. His life started in the hands of a girl named Daisy who loved him dearly. He lived a nice and peaceful life until one day she lost him. Lotso made his way back to her home, but unfortunately for him, he was already replaced. This turned him into the bitter and tyrannical character we see as the movie progresses. Lotso lords over the Sunnyside daycare, and he is quick to punish those who act out of line. When Buzz attempts to get his friends transferred to a more peaceful room, he and his allies reset him to factory mode. After they escape the daycare later, Lotso is quick to cut them off and even reveals he has tortured Chatter Telephone to learn of their plan. Lotso is also extremely manipulative. He repeatedly tells Woody that Andy is through with him and there is nothing to him but plastic. When the toys are about to be incinerated, Lotso begs Woody to help him up a ladder, which leads to a button that can stop the conveyor belt. Woody helps, but Lotso does not return the favor, choosing instead to run away and leave the others to perish. While Sid may have been the more violent character, you could argue that he was just a kid who had a weird way of having fun. Lotso is a rotten and cruel villain, and our choice for the most evil villain in the entire Toy Story franchise. Before we wrap it up, let's hand out a few medals to the characters who deserve them the best. First off, we're giving the Wrath medal to Zerg. With his only motive being to destroy Buzz Lightyear, we really couldn't imagine anyone else getting this one. Next, we believe Ken is a natural pick for the Lust medal. He's head over heels in love with Barbie, so it fits him perfectly. We're now going to give the Greed medal to Ronald Tompkins. There's greedy, and then there's stealing toys from children and selling them online greedy. Up next, we feel that Al is a perfect fit for the Sloth medal. Come on, he falls asleep with Cheeto dust all over him. Could you get any lazier? The Envy medal goes to Stinky Pete, who is definitely jealous of the attention that the space toys receive from children. Last but certainly not least, the Pride medal goes to Lotso. His grip on Sunnyside Daycare is proof that he believes himself to be above all other toys. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.